She's riveted still.
There she is. There she is.
In English, it would be I ran from the wolf, but ran into the bear.
I was going to say that you're a force of nature,
No,
and
I'm a selfish prick. That's okay. Selfish pricks change the world.
Hello, and welcome to Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations number 128. And I'm glad you're here today. And I know it's not season 3 anymore, and that Molly's gone, and she's remembered as the name of the Space Center now, but she's still correct about the selfish pricks. and, and we have plenty of those today, from Miles doing what's best for his family at the expense of the Helios Company, or Deb taking back the Helios Company with Kelly and Aleda, or Ed, who's afraid of losing control by so much that he's offering to hide his friend before giving up the fact that he's not really in control anymore. So, I don't know. But also, there's Danny, who won't tell us what his stupid secret is and why everyone is horrified to talk about it, but they certainly tease it. They're very, very sly about it. It's almost revealed and then they take it away. But as we're looking for selfishness, let's also look for any selflessness, if we can find any, because that's the true double-edged coin that Molly represents. She claims selfishness, but she often exhibits selflessness when times are really, really dire, when things are really tough, when it comes down to it. She really cares. Because today, I'm continuing my review of For All Mankind Season 4. We're in episodes 3 and 4. And this is the last season that's been released, so I'm still getting excited to be done catching up with the rest of the world. So I'll be caught up with everybody else who likes this show. And so yeah, and it's pretty phenomenal so far. While this show continues, it still relies a whole bunch on a lot of extra drama that you might find in any other ordinary TV show, but at the same time, those dramatic events do still culminate in interesting things that happen in space, and science related stuff eventually does occur. And so I'm still enjoying this journey. Today, we finally figure out what went wrong with the Kronos mission, and we're also well on our way to Kelly finally being able to search for life on Mars with those little robots that look like dogs that exist in our reality. So, so that's good. On our on our way, anyway. Not quite there, but it's definitely being promised. That's what the show does. It promises things, and it does eventually deliver. But it does it in a way that they do tease you. And Margot is mildly tortured for most people, but more majorly so for her, because she's over 70 years old and already in pain. So probably. Oh, and speaking of being in pain, Ed is in pain too. So we'll talk more about that later. But he's also being a bit of a jerk. And Danny struggles to Danny as in Danielle is struggling to retain command of the base as Russia's going crazy, going, Russia's basically regressing 50 years backwards in time, back to where, because you remember at the beginning of this season, they were kind of melding their communism with capitalism, and they had McDonald's and all this stuff. Well, now all of that's going backwards. They're like, nope, we don't like that anymore. We want to go back to the way things were when we were more powerful or something. And so because of that, they're not recognizing Danny's leadership, so she's having to struggle with that to retain command. But then it's at the expense of her friendship with Ed. But hopefully they'll get over it soon, and they'll be back to greeting each other as Bob. You right? Hi, Bob. But before we get into more of it, I'd like to say hello to the chat. To those who are making their way with us to Mars today. I'm going to go into as much detail as I can about what I enjoy about the stories in these episodes. Episodes 3 and 4, The Bear Hug, and A House Divided. So if you're looking for a place to escape the real-life politics of today, I hope you enjoy today's review of For All Mankind, where instead we explore pretend politics. And I want to first greet DJ Knight, who is the first one here, saying, I'm here. Hey, I'm glad you're here, DJ Knight. How are you doing today? And I'm very, very excited to see Snortapoopa's Cuber because I heard that you had a bit of trouble with YouTube, taking down your account or shadow banning it or making it to where you couldn't be seen in a whole bunch of chats. Some kind of bug happened, and I'm so glad that it's gotten fixed. I was really worried about it. But luckily you're here, and I'm glad. Gavin Blackburn also. Hey, I'm glad you're here too. How's it going? Back to normal time. But unfortunately, Gavin, I wish that most of the year was fallback. Most of the year was like this. It's only like, what is it, 4 months or 5 months? If not, we don't get enough time with the correct time. And I'd like to say hello to Canadian Spider-Man too. Such a cool looking rover. Yeah, well, because I looked through all the I looked through some of the images of this show, and whichever one jumps out at me first that are on the wiki page are the ones I use. These aren't my slides. I take my slides later, if that makes sense. I hand select the slides that you see here. All of these slides are hand selected by me. But there are also official screen caps that are on the For All Mankind wiki that I use for my thumbnails. But Spidey also says it needs mud tires. So Canadian Spider-Man's first goal going to Mars is to, well, they do find water on Mars, and where there's water and dust, I don't see why you couldn't make mud. Can you make mud on Mars? This is why we need scientific exploration on Mars, is to find out whether or not you can go mudding on Mars. He also says, good morning, everyone. Anti-derivative Jill really appreciates your support. Laptop battery's acting funny. Not sure how we'll go today. Oh, I hope you're able to charge your laptop, Spidey. And that whatever you're working on today, it goes well. Better than the 4x4 from Star Trek Nemesis. Yeah, well, anything's better than Dune Buggy. But the thing is, sure, you can have rovers on Mars, but the Dune Buggy was silly because why aren't you using your you have the flying shuttlecrafts. It's just absurd. And I did have StreamYard issues earlier. It was laggy, but we seem to be okay now. If anything happens, well, I'll let you guys know from my phone. Bear hugs can be a good thing. Oh, that's true. Sir says. Well, I'm glad you can give them today. And hello, Greek letters Larson. Oh no, my headphones might die soon, but my other headphones are almost dead, so I'm gonna have to run these out and then switch them. And hello, Brogu. Brogu says, hello, hope you're having a wonderful day today. I hope you're having a wonderful day too, Brogu. What's going on in your life today? The algorithm doesn't like polar bears? Well, this polar bear had some issues. Canadian Spider-Man, take off the battery, and as long as you have plugged in the laptop, you're going to be okay. It's within parameters. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. If the battery really is a problem, you can definitely do that. Just be careful. If you unplug the laptop, then you have no power. So our first episode is The Bear Hug. It's the third episode of season 4. First aired on November 22nd, 2023. Written by Andrew Black and directed by Dan Liu. Let me bring up this transcript in case I need it. And so Margot and some other people because they some other people got detained after they were involved in an altercation at a newsstand. And that newsstand altercation just suddenly became a political demonstration somehow, just because the guy running the newsstand didn't particularly like getting his business shut down. And there were those creepy callbacks, if you remember, when they say that this is a non-essential business, and that kind of reminded me of COVID. This is not an essential business. But obviously, though, the reason they were shutting down the newsstand is to stop the spread of information that the state didn't want spread. Greek Letters Lars says, I have a laptop that I haven't changed the battery for in 5 years. I've turned it into a desktop, but it works perfectly. Oh, right. Yeah. With no battery, then of course it's no longer portable, is it? Uh, It's only as portable as your extension cord for it. DJ Play Nice is here. He says, "Wee." I don't know. I can't really do a good wee unless I'm like actually on a roller coaster. But I'm really glad you're here, DJ Play Nice. But one thing I'm not glad about is just when I think that global cooperation is finally something that we're going to get, because the season really started off really hopefully with America and the US working together at NASA. But I guess that's all crumbling now. So all my hopes that we're just going to get past the stupid Russia stuff and actually work together, and there be like maybe some kind of different conflict. That no, we're still worried about the Russians. And so I guess we'll see what the purpose or the gain is of all this at some point. And meanwhile, Margot is being delivered somewhere. She doesn't know where, but it's not good because Koroshenko is sending the Russians back quite a bit. He's usurping power from Gorbachev, who in this reality struck some kind of peace with the U.S. of some sort. It was an M7 kind of treaty where they all agreed to work together for the sake of space exploration and the future of each other's countries. And it was all nice and everything. But this usurper decided, no, Gorbachev needs to go. We've got to. Oh, Koroshenko decided that these benefits to his nation that Gorbachev was bringing were just no good. Because Gorbachev was trying to be diplomatic, embracing some of the elements of capitalism, basically to Russia's benefit. But some people don't like that. Some people don't like progress. That's another theme for all mankind. Progress is something that people push up against quite a bit, but then eventually something good happens, hopefully. And that's always the end goal, I think. There is a sense of hope eventually, but not today. Not today, because the communism of 50 years ago has come back. And there's a Soviet crisis, as the newscast says. Russian parliament tanks were surrounding the Russian parliament, and everybody's told to stay inside where things are sorted out. Fyodor Korozenko wants to go back to Marxist-Leninist ideals. And Star City, okay, so nobody can contact Star City. Svetlana has not heard from Star City at all, which isn't good. But even worse, something even more disturbing is that she can't even contact her dad. So her dad could be in danger as far as she knows. She can't even contact him. Maybe he's okay. But as far as we know, we don't know. So this is one of the dangling plot threads that is not resolved within these 2 episodes. It's something that we're going to highlight. I'm going to get my little highlighter out right now, and I'm going to highlight this because plot holes are typically filled on this show, but I want to make sure so that I remember to look later to make sure that we eventually do find out what happens to Svetlana's dad. I'm going to highlight that because that's not a good sign. The same thing is occurring for other astronauts' families. Svetlana says, it's like Moscow just disappeared. So they can't contact them, but Danielle says to give bandwidth priority to Russia. So if someone does try to break through, it'll be easy for them to communicate. Which should make some sense. So it's of course not a good thing. And somebody's trespassing on Dev's property. And she's excited to see a shooting star, and she says, that's the universe sending us a message. And Dev says, the universe doesn't send messages. And the lady with the surfboard says, how do you know? He says, it's not sentient. Doesn't give a damn about you and me. It's just a collection of random particles careening through the void. And then I love when Dev realizes that this girl he's arguing philosophy with is trespassing. She ignored the no trespassing sign, thinking that he owns his house and the land, but he couldn't own the ocean. And in a way, I can kind of understand this. I have the same drive down Ocean Drive every day, and I enjoy looking at the ocean at a certain red light. But recently, it's been taken up as private property. And the owners have decided to erect a nice brick wall, so now I can't see the waves anymore. I would have liked it if at least they at least they made it a clearer fence, but I guess they own it now, so I can't see it. And it does seem kind of weird you can own bits of the ocean, but that's the thing that happens, and you gotta respect it. I'm I'm not gonna I'm not gonna trespass. I just go down a little further and there's some free beach that is public property. But Dev threatens to call the sheriff, but nothing ever comes of that, so he doesn't. It's assumed that he never calls them. I think he was just threatening her. Greek Letters Larson says, I bet the scenario I predicted, they have a nuclear war on Earth, and now it's just the Martian colony to continue humanity. That would be terrifying. Oh my god, that's not a good idea. No. No. That would be really dark for all mankind if Ronald D. Moore is saying that this is supposed to be a prequel, his sort of prequel to Star Trek. I don't know. I don't know if that's the way it's gonna go. Like, and if it did, it wouldn't wipe out all of humanity. I don't think. But a fallout scenario on Earth. I can't say nothing's going to be dropped, but I sure don't want to see it. Oh, yeah. No soliciting, no trespassing. You know, yeah, I don't like soliciting either, unless you've got cookies or something, or chocolate. Aleda Rosales and Kelly Baldwin. They're working together now, starting in the last episodes that we saw. So this season they're a team, and they're asking Helios to take up the secret project that NASA abandoned. NASA abandoned their robot program to find life on Mars. They say we call it Mars Seeker, which is an acronym for something. I forget. Oh wait, no, here it is. No, they don't say what the acronym is here either. They say semi-autonomous robotic crawler designed to explore uncharted Martian lava tubes, testing bedrock for proof of life, is what it says. Okay, so Gorilla's Random Thoughts is saying, hey, get tiger stripes up there swearing again. I did that the other night. Well, I had to party the other night. During shore leave, anything could happen, and we had tiger stripes up here having a good time. And apparently, Tiger Stripe's good time became Gorilla's Random Thoughts good time because he took the role of when I cursed and he applied it to Tiger Stripes, and he went to go get a lottery ticket, and he won in the thousands. Did you really win thousands of dollars? I don't remember. Was it not $5,000, or was I just dreaming? Snorty says subterranean extraterrestrial exploration via kinematically enhanced robots. I love it. That's perfect. I feel like that's right. So I wonder, actually, Seeker for Mankind. That sounds actually correct. Yeah, it is. That's precisely correct. Thank you, Storm Poopus, for looking that up for me. Yes, I went and got a ticket off the rack at Spencer's. Oh. Oh, really? What? Spencer's has lottery tickets? Since when? I don't know. I've never seen a lottery ticket put out that much. Was it real? Sharon Poopus says I give good Google. That'll be $3.50. Hey, you can't charge after the fact. All right, I owe you $3.50. Okay, so but Helios doesn't want anything to do with it. They have other things to do. They're busy. They're too busy mining. They'd rather be mining for helium-3. Or oh, why am I getting an alarm there? Sorry. It was a gag gift that was left over in my drawer. You know what? You got me, Gorilla. You sent it to me like with no explanation whatsoever, and I believed you. I'm pretty gullible. But at least I didn't tell people until today. Now I just embarrass myself in front of all my listeners. That's even better. But at least I figured it out right away that it wasn't real. Miles Dell. Oh yeah, I forget his last name is Dale. I just always remember him as Miles. His last name is Dale. So we'll get up to him in a bit. And Kelly is so that she's trying to bring back up her work. She wants to go back to Mars. That's her goal. And so Miles' kid is playing on the cell phone on her cell phone, showing her dad a game, and she wants a rock. That's all she wants is a rock. So he's gonna have to work on that. And Amanda Dale, his wife, who she's trying to separate from him, but he ran away to Mars hoping to make things better for them, for their financial situation. And she says, if you're not making the money that you thought you were going to make, then what are you doing up there? What are you doing up there on Mars? So I understand that Miles' wife is facing the reality that because the Mars contract isn't paying Miles as much as she imagined, that she has to go get a job. That's understandable. So she's facing the reality of their financial situation, which is good. However, I'm disappointed in Miles' wife. I'm disappointed that Amanda is not capable of understanding the magnitude of the sacrifice that Miles is making in giving something like this a try. His only hope is to bring his family to a better place. Why can't she just see that? Doesn't she realize that whatever happened to, it's the thought that counts? I would have been very proud of my husband for trying to improve our situation by taking a chance like this. I wouldn't try to make him feel guilty about trying this out, especially since I'd be so worried about his safety as well. So I wouldn't want to make him feel all that bad about it. But on the other hand, it does make sense to ask the question, if you are making as much as you planned, what is going on? What is stopping that from happening? That would have been a better way to frame the conversation, is to say, are you being taken advantage of, and how? You've got to figure this out. And so, but an actual conversation, because they're just emailing each other, an actual conversation with her would clear all of this up in an instant. We wouldn't have any of this weird, this sitcom kind of melodrama. He's basically trapped in indentured servitude. It's just obvious. If he leaves, he'd owe the company more than he was offered to gain, which I didn't even think was a possible kind of thing that you could do to people anymore in America. I thought labor laws were kind of made this kind of thing a thing of the past, and so I guess I was wrong. This kind of scumminess, I thought it was trapped back in those coal mining days, or those sweatshop labor days, in those textile industries. Oh, okay, guys, I got to switch. My headphones died, so I'm going to switch to these headphones, and I will be brief. And hopefully it does not disturb the audio, the programming too much. Okay, so that one's plugged in. I'm with the new one now. Let me make sure that I can hear things. Yes, I can. Everything's fine. Oh, everyone falls for them. It's always really funny. Well, yeah, it looked legit. It looked fairly legit. I didn't really look that much into it. Like, why would you send that to me unless it was real? Now I'm never going to trust you ever again, Gorilla. I'm just joking, but seriously. So, but I guess see, I thought this kind of thing was stuck, miles away in Dubai, where Dubai was recently built by indentured servitude. And some say, of course, indentured servitude is just slavery with a time limit. But the only way his wife's going to understand any of this if they talk, and they still haven't actually talk in real time. But anyway, he needs to explain that to her, that he can't come home and that he's going to continue to do his best to improve his situation. But he is eventually going to figure this problem out without having to communicate. But it must be his pride that I'm used, gorilla. Yeah, indentured servitude is slavery. Yes, Greek letters arson for real. It really is. I can understand how this is legal and why they think this would be even seen as something that's possible in the U.S. It just we've been through this. It must be his pride, though, that he won't talk to her straight up, which maybe explains why she has a problem with him because he's not honest. That's just that kind of thing is frustrating. Then Samantha is talking to Miles next and saying that her marriage ended because she wanted to work on Mars and her husband wanted babies. And apparently those two didn't mix for her. I guess she made her choice. And we get to find out the difference between astronauts having their living expenses paid for on top of their salary versus the Helios company charging their employees to work, which is crazy. How is this legal in this universe? Why don't they unionize? I don't understand. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. And I couldn't find it, but I feel like there should be laws already to stop this kind of abuse. But I don't know what's happening. I really don't. Someone needs to explain it to me. But until we figure out what's going on, at least we have vodka to drink. Plenty of vodka. At the, the secret bar in the lower decks of Happy Valley. And Miles and Samantha, they drink. And Miles learns that Ilya makes a lot of money from his smuggling operations. Oh, let's take a brief moment here to say hello to Matt G. Hey Matt G, how are you doing? Okay. I'm wrong. Let's see. So Miles wants in on some of this money that Ilya's making. So he gets he asks to help, but Ilya doesn't really want anything to change his system because he's had his system and he hasn't gotten caught. And he doesn't want to get caught as a smuggler. He's kind of like someone who can smuggle things, get anything you need that isn't readily available usually. I'd like to say hello to PS2 Chipper. Hey, how's it going? But eventually Ilya agrees because Miles has a green badge based on his ability to repair environmental systems. So Ilya changes his mind, and not only that, Miles is now able to take special orders from upper deck people who live above ground. And this is Miles is actually really good at salesmanship. So why wasn't he a salesman before? But I don't know. Maybe he was and had a problem with it, or oh no, my back is itchy. This was a problem yesterday. So just a second. All right, I think I got it. So I'm glad Miles is finding a way to get his family more money. But my only question is, Wouldn't these extra funds be suspicious to Helios or whomever is watching Miles' deposits? Because we see him just inputting this money directly into the ATM of the company. So he's not smuggling his profits the same way that they're importing all these items. He's just putting them straight in, putting that money straight in. So I'm sure that would be questionable, isn't it? So maybe one thing I'm thinking is that maybe Helios does know about the smuggling operations, and they're just keeping it. They just keep it on the down low. Well, at least maybe not the bigger Helios company, but at least the base of operations, the higher ups at this Happy Valley know about the smuggling, but they keep it quiet so that the morale stays up, so that people, who are working in the lower decks are happier. Maybe I can't explain it yet. I need to watch the whole season. Maybe that's something else to highlight for later, because this is a question. So I'm gonna highlight this one. Oops. There you go. And so they're Ed Baldwin and Svetlana are piloting they're trying to do some tests so that they can do the asteroid mission again. It's kind of like brute force tests. They're doing trial and error tests without an actual asteroid to see if everything is okay, and just to see what went wrong exactly, just by copying all of the maneuvers they did before to see where they went wrong, to see if it was pilot error or not. But everything goes well, and the only problem is Ed's hand begins to tremor. It begins to shake uncontrollably. And to hide that fact, I mean, this man is over 70 years old, so it makes sense. Some things are starting to shut down. He lets Svetlana control the docking procedure, and she succeeds. And I guess so. I'm definitely happy that this episode is addressing the asteroid disaster, and they're trying to figure out what happened with Kronos by trial and error testing. Brute force is definitely a method that could work eventually, as long as they do everything over again. So at least they're trying to solve the issue. Meanwhile, Margot's going to be investigated, but not just investigated. Investigated is the wrong word. She's being interrogated. And Lieutenant Stepan Gura is interrogating her about the card with the phone number. And first she says that she's there because she interfered with police procedure during an illegal political demonstration where she tried to stop that policeman from beating that newspaper salesman. But he's more interested with this card because the prefix is assigned to the 3rd Chief Directorate of the KGB, says Stepan. The 3rd Directorate is currently opposing constitutional transfer of government power to Koroshenko. Right now, you are held here under Article 70, which does not allow for extreme penalty. But if we were to find that you're here under false pretense, working with the corrupt Gorbachev regime against our nation, this will be a supplementary circumstance leading to a charge under Article 64, betrayal of motherland. Punishment for this can be as little as 10 years in a work camp or as much as death. But we don't get to see this sentence carried out. It seems to be a promise. But then guns start blazing, and Gura has to leave the room to check on the situation. It's pretty scary. You just hearing all these shots. We don't actually see anything that's going on. We don't see people actually shot. or taken down or exactly what's happening, but it does seem to be a good thing for Margot if the person who wants to put her in a prison camp at the least or kill her at the worst is being taken down. So so at least she isn't outside where all the shooting is happening anyway. Yeah, sent to the gulag is basically what she's being threatened with. That's right. That's absolutely correct. Greek letters. And so I don't know, it's kind of weird. So she's given this phone number, and then the police pick her up, and then they I guess they call the number. And I guess we're gonna figure out what happens with that in a little bit. Oh, and meanwhile, here's Dev's house. And Aleda and Kelly are here. They're continuing their adventure, trying to find not only resources, because Kelly is presumably really rich from her stock ownership in Helios, but she needs to get to Mars. It's she needs to actually get in with someone who can actually transport her to Mars. So I suppose what's happening here makes some sense. And so she tries to pitch the project to Dev, but he turns him down. And Kelly calls him out about not caring about discovery or science or whatever. And Dev says it's because he was betrayed by Karen and he doesn't believe in people anymore. He believes everybody's going to backstab him. Kelly says if we find life, we map its genome, unfold its proteins, find its secrets, and in doing that, we might find secrets to ourselves. I mean, who knows what advances in biotech might come out of that? Well, so this kind of bothers me. It's really unreal to me that one of the projects of most of the rovers that we currently send to Mars in our universe are trying to find life, signs of life. No matter what the mission for the rover is, there's always, they always add an instrument on there that says, "Oh, we're going to scoop some material from Mars just to see if there's anything stirring." Even if that's not the main goal, there's always that. They always check for that possibility. So it makes no sense to me why in this universe this isn't as much of a priority. For some reason in the For All Mankind universe, Kelly seems to be the only one who's truly interested in finding life on Mars. You know, no one else wants to find aliens. Oh, Snortopoopas Cuber says, this old bear needs to lay down for a while. Have fun exploring Mars. Well, I would love to explore Mars, but there's all this politics and economics and drama, family life, and romances getting in the way. All I want to do is put those weird little dog robots on Mars and see if we can find some aliens. Even if they're microbes, I'd be pretty excited. I hope you have a good rest, Snortopoopas. Oh, gosh, a nap sounds really good. So, I don't know. I can understand that NASA needed to make some priorities, but and and Helios, but Dev too. This is seriously short-sighted. Of course, it does turn around later in the episode. He was burned, and he doesn't want to land in that frying pan again. So, thanks to Karen, he's lost his ability to believe in others. Which I guess explains why he's just chilling at home, yelling at surfers. And so then that's that scene. Although, yeah, Deb uses 3 monitors. How about that? That's not bad. I dropped my monitor the other day. About 20% of it is blaked out. But I think it's within warranty. I think I can replace it. I like Greek letters. Larson says there's no intelligent life on Mars. In fact, there's no intelligent life in this solar system. That reminds me of a quote by Stephen Hawking about intelligent life. What does he say? I forget what he says. And well, he's afraid of making contact with aliens, but that's not the quote. Oh well, I'll have to find it later. In the meantime, we are gardening with Ed. We're going back to Ed's garden where there's some beautiful strawberries and everything, but something else also. Something to ease the pain.
It's to kill the pain.
So Ed is Svetlana is talking. She's complaining about some pain. I think it was back pain, some kind of pain. And so Ed shares with her his secret garden. Oh, the secret garden. It was a cute book when I was a kid, but this isn't just any secret garden. This is a secret pot garden where he uses this weed to deal with his pain. And he shares this with her. He even shows her how to smoke. It is she does a really good job. First time. So, but when you think about the shaking that's going on with Ed, if you want to predict, well, if I want to predict, since I don't know, it might be Parkinson's. That's my guess. But the best part of this scene is that Ed got the seeds for this garden from Wayne. And my only problem with this scene, though, is that it's a shame. Look, I know that Karen was his wife, but how can you talk about Wayne as Karen's friend, but not mention him as Molly's husband? And I don't know. Also, what do you think? Given Ed's character so far, would this sneaky secret, because Ed got this sneaky secret of a secret weed stash, secret weed garden, do you think his secret will make him more understanding if he discovers the secret bar in the lower decks with all the vodka and the still? So, and then maybe he will offer to some of his stash as a way to bridge the peace and boost morale as he begins to accept the lower decks crew as being part of the crew, as much as part of the crew as astronauts and scientists. Because that's what I want to happen. I think that would be the best outcome for the first man ever to grow pot on Mars, first Martian grandpa. So he does have a couple of things going for him now in terms of firsts. He couldn't be the first one on Mars, but he's the first one to grow weed on Mars. But there's something more to this. It isn't just getting high. It isn't just getting rid of your aches and pains. Because on top of being useful medicinally, you can also, from this, grow a garden of hemp. And hemp could help with Martian self-sustainability. Because you could also use hemp to make paper, plastics, clothing, lots of things. Right? It'd be pretty useful. Hello? Oh, can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay. I'm just making sure I'm audible. When I'm alone up here, sometimes I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, great. Thank you for confirming, DJ Play Nice and Greek letters. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Fodder Stump. Great to see you. Greek letter says set up a multi-billion agency for space exploration. What did they do? Grow pot. Well, it's not sanctioned. It's a secret. It's a secret for a reason. I don't think he's supposed to be. Yes, yes. Well, good to know. Thank you. That might happen now and then if I'm unsure. So after working out, Dev takes a glance at that secret booklet. Oh, and Raul Julia is here to remind us. Remember the 5th of November. Gunfire treason and plot. Ooh, right. That is true. Today is November 5th. Happy Guy Fawkes Day. Anyway. What happened on the 5th of November? And that's what Greek Letters Larson asks. All I know about it is from V from Vendetta, not actually being a Brit myself, but if you read the whole poem, it kind of gives you a bit of a hint of whatever kind of government overthrow was attempted therein. Colonel Vidor Kolokov. Okay, so that's this colonel. So back to Margot in Russia. He's at first he apologizes to her, and you think he's gonna be nice to her, and then he brings in Stepan Guro, and then breaks his finger to get an answer out of him. Because he asks him about the card and he won't tell him, so he's got to break his finger. Apparently, I guess that's the only way to get answers. So this guy's not so good either. So we just went from one interrogation to another interrogation, and then Margot gets interrogated, and there's a big interrogation party. But not really a party, more of a what's the opposite of party where it's still a party? It's an interrogation. A mass interrogation? Multiple interrogation. But everybody wants to know why she has this number and what's going on with it. Kolokov asks Margot who gave her the card. And it's revealed that the number led to a counterintelligence of the KGB who supported Kojenko. And then once this colonel gets that information, he disposes of Lieutenant Gurr, and Margot is splattered in the lieutenant's blood. So that happens. Then Peter Kolokov ties Margot in chains and interrogates her. I'm more of a November 17th person. 17 November was Greek Marxist terror. Oh, geez. That got neutralized. Oh, okay. That's good news that they got neutralized. Okay. Whoa. I should learn more about some of that kind of history. Thank you, Greek Letters Larson. Well, this is kind of a similar event. There's definitely things blowing up in the Guy Fawkes story. But anyway, suffice to say, Margot's still in trouble. Margot in Russia. She's escaping. In her escape, she's run right out of the frying pan and into the fire. What did you say he changed her to? A pipe? Some kind of pipe. And she had chains. Let's see. I forget exactly. There's like some pipe overhead, and she's like chained to it, like her arms are above her head and everything. And that's the position in which he puts her in to interrogate her. Yes, yes, he did. Well, so shades of interrogation? 50 Shades of Interrogation. Oh, I didn't think about it that way. So here's a little overview of Happy Valley. And Miles is trying to show Ilya how useful he could be by fixing his still. So the distilling, so the vodka would be made quicker, but he ends up just instead the cooling coil temperature thing is destroyed. Oh, and before we even finish the first episode, Philip has arrived. He said he was going to be a little late, and here he is, just on time. We're still talking
Yep,
about the first episode, so welcome.
very good. I was hoping I would at least catch a little bit of it.
Yeah, well done. You made it. You made it.
Perfect.
So we just finished interrogating Margot and the other Russian guy who was he was interrogating her, then he got interrogated, and then Margot got interrogated again. So no matter who she's talking to, she's getting interrogated. It's just the kind of kind kind of thing that just happens. And
Yeah, there's like a because right now the Russians are kind of waffling behind or between two different groups of Russians because you have the Gorbachev people and you have the ones that are tied to this other more. He's like trying to go back to the way communism used to be in Russia before they started including more of the West in their society, and so yeah,
yeah, Korzhenko
yeah,
is his
that's
name,
it.
and I always forget it. I just have it in my notes. That's how I know.
Hmm.
And of course, Ed has his secret weed garden. I went over that.
Hmm. Yeah.
He shares with Svetlana, and they bond over stories.
Hmm.
And so his roommates help Miles find. Miles just broke the still. He was trying to make it faster. He was trying to improve things, but he messed things
Hmm.
up. So now he's got to find a new cooling coil, and the only one that matches is in
Hmm.
the North Korean section,
Yeah.
naturally.
Hmm.
So Miles has this is all his it's all about the different things that Miles does to make money for his family.
Hmm.
And somehow getting away with it where he's actually inserting the money into the ATM, and Helios isn't at all curious how he's making extra money.
Yeah, I guess they take it for granted that anybody be making extra money, but also they must not be tracking anything that's deposited.
Um, maybe, but why not? Anyway, so Miles has to trick the North Koreans to give up their base. They're extremely overprotective, and I don't know how much I believe that they would give up their base. But he does it by telling them there's an environmental issue where there's a potential methane leak, and if they don't get out, they might choke and die to death. So they got to get out.
Hmm. Yeah.
And but his friends won't help him at all. He has to do it by himself. This is a constant theme. Is that he asks his friend, they're like no, and so he goes to do it by himself. And later on, the same thing happens. He's like, "Hey, friends, help me with this," and they're like, "No." Yeah, I don't know how much friends they actually are, or maybe his plans are just too stupid for them to take seriously. But he has belief in them, and so he carries them out. And somehow there's some miracle. This ruse actually works, and he's able to get the coil, and it's but he does get He does eventually get caught. He doesn't. I thought he was gonna take the broken one and put the broken one in the refrigerator, but he doesn't.
Mm.
I didn't see him do that. Or maybe he did do
Yeah.
that. I just didn't see it.
No, I don't think you did.
No. And so he says that we must evacuate. Maybe he didn't really trick them, and that he that Lee is actually letting this happen for some reason, because very
Well, I
quickly
mean,
he's caught by Lee.
mhm. Well, I mean, it seems like, I mean, it was kind of known, I guess, kind of under the, under the radar that everybody kind of knew what Ilya and Miles were up to, but some people were willing to look the other way with it because they would benefit from it in some way. Like either they would have some type of contraband given to them, and then here, this is the first time I think Miles and Lee are in communication, and so he has also his own uh, ulterior motive that is what's driving him to work with Miles. But um, I don't know if that's been revealed just yet. I don't think so. That's coming.
No, but I've kind of figured it out, and because how can you import this giant box of all of this cool stuff, and you've got all of these customers all over the base from top to bottom, and nobody knows there's smuggling going on? That's silliness. On top of that,
Yeah.
like, you see tons of people in that bar, there's music playing. It it seems like at some point somebody would let the cat out of the bag, and that is really what it feels like. It's more of a unsanctioned economy that
Hmm.
is allowed to happen.
Yeah.
It's just no, that has not been revealed yet, but it's not a huge spoiler for me because I think I pretty much figured that out.
I mean, what his ulterior motive is I think
Um,
somewhat vague here.
oh, Lee, in terms of what
Hmm.
Lee wants from Ilya, yeah, Lee apparently says he's known about Ilya the whole time because we've got,
Hmm.
yeah, that makes sense. And but he lets Miles keep the coil, so Miles is able to fix the still.
Hmm.
And Kelly and Lena get home, but kind of like a cartoon. Dev is there before they get there. How did you get
Hmm.
here before us? Helps if you have your own jet.
Hmm.
And so he of course travels quickly. I bet if they had expanded scenes from chained damsels and interrogation, that show would be by far more popular. What?
Well, hmm.
Greek letters Larson had a very different idea when he thought about Margot being tied up. But
Yeah, I don't know how that would fly, but yeah, no comment.
yeah, no, but he's having fun with it anyway.
Yeah.
Dev says, "See, people let him down." Oh, okay. He's talking about his dad. People he thought he could count on, and they hurt him so bad that he just gave up. And that's part of his story is how his dad gave up, but how Dev brought his dad's dream back to life.
Hmm.
And Dev was realizing that he was heading down the same path as his dad and didn't even realize it until Kelly and Aleda walked through the door and offered that plan.
Hmm.
So, but instead of investing his own money, because number one rule in business, never invest your own money.
Hmm.
And I didn't know that was the number one rule in business. So, for all mankind is
Well,
teaching me things. So he says that maybe they should try a hostile takeover and
mhm.
have enough people on their side that they can overtake the rest of the company with majority ownership.
Mhm.
And so they so I so that's basically the plan. He owns a bunch of stock in the company, and then if Kelly puts in her share, then if they can convince enough other stockholders to join them, then they can take Helios back, and Dev will have his company back, and
Mhm.
that's nice and everything. But I don't-
Mhm.
so it's not so much that Kelly needs money, because wouldn't Kelly be a billionaire from this kind of company, the size of this company,
Well, I forget
or not?
exactly how much how that worked out with like her mom or whatever, but she wouldn't be. I mean, she shouldn't be that cash strapped.
Yeah, she should have something.
I mean, especially
Or
whatever works out between her dad and whatever her mom left her. I imagine that
but she
there was
does seem
something.
to be limited financially. So is it in some kind of trust that she can't have it all at once, or what's going on there?
Yeah, maybe that might be interesting to see.
I'm curious about it. But they ended up having to visit other shareholders, but only one really gets highlighted here.
Hmm.
Hey, Daniel's Hot Topics is here. Good morning. What's this show? It's for all mankind. So
Hmm.
it started off on the moon, and it's just an alternate history where what would happen if Russia won the space race. And uh, Ronald D. Moore's idea is that America would have um, gone further in their space exploration, and we would actually have bases on the moon, which would extend to bases on Mars. And here we are, trying to find life on Mars. And so that is the major goal of Kelly, and she's got Deb on her side.
Hmm.
And now that they're looking to get Helios back, they'll have a way to get to Mars. Oh, it's another parallel universe. Yes. PJ Bear says, I'm late. Is this episode 3 or 4? We're nearing the end of episode 3, getting close to episode 4. Why invest your own money when you can do it with other people's money? 0% loss, 100% gain.
Hmm.
Yeah. I guess that sounds good on paper, but it's a question of convincing people to give you their money.
Well, you got to have a product worth investing in. That's the whole
Yeah.
key.
So Aleda goes to Bill because he's got
Hmm.
some stock, and hoping that he'll sign it away. And because he's been doing pretty good with his shares he's been making some good money. He's buying Robbie the robot, the talking
Hmm.
figure, and lots
Yeah.
of different toys and figures and models and things. He's just playing. So he's doing pretty well for himself. And it's good to see Bill. I was wondering what happened to him. I kept trying to see if he was working at Helios or if he went back to NASA, but it looks like he didn't. It looks like after the
Hmm.
disaster, he just left everything. And it just took Aleda longer to leave NASA than he did. He was at
Hmm.
Helios, but it took her longer to quit than it took him.
Hmm.
And she tries to talk about Robbie the robot, but he gets really angry and says, "Put it back."
Hmm.
Yeah, you never touch a man's Robbie
Hmm.
the robot.
Definitely not.
But at least we know something about Victor now. We never know anything about Aleda's husband. He also likes Robbie. Forbidden Planet in particular.
Hmm.
Really great movie. I can
Yeah,
understand.
it's a favorite.
But beyond Robbie the robot, the two are arguing about why Aleda gave up NASA, but also she's trying to get his shares. So he says, "Look, I know it's crazy, but Dev still owns a lot of Helios stock, and so does Kelly. All we need is a few more stockholders to join us, and we can retake his company." So Bill wants to know why Aleda quit NASA,
Hmm.
and if it was because of the asteroid disaster with the Kronos and Ranger 1.
Hmm.
But yeah, and so she basically confirms this, that she has PTSD from the explosions, and the asteroid disaster brought that back, and
Yeah.
the explosion of the Johnson Space Center. And it seems that Bill hasn't been back either at some point after that. But he essentially says, "I trust you. Do what you want with my shares." But she tries to ask him to work with her. She wants to work with him again, because they did make a good engineering team. But he turns it down.
Yeah.
That's a shame. But oh no, there's Margot again. Okay, so Danielle's Hot Topic says, "Yeah, I don't understand that. There are a few shows about what if Russia won the space race, and they show the world worse off for it. I think it would be just like now." Yes, Daniel, says Greek Letters Larson. In this alternate timeline, the Russians have colonized Mars. Margaret Thatcher never became prime minister. Or I think she did get assassinated sooner than she does, but she was prime minister for a little bit, but not as long, or her reign was not as impactful as it was in ours.
Right.
And then there's no grunge music, even though they play Nirvana, and Pringles doesn't exist. Pringles doesn't exist. What? I thought Pringles was in an episode, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
don't remember.
seem to remember Pringles.
I mean, I remember, but I don't remember them not existing.
Why?
But
Why don't Pringles exist? Yeah. Anyway, Forbidden Planet is fun. Got to find that the next time I go to the mall. And he also says, "Do you think the moon landing was a hoax?" Of course not. No.
No.
A lot of people think it is.
Well, those people are wrong.
They can't stand believing in human ingenuity and progress. They have.
I mean, once
that's a game changer.
Yeah. Well, once you
I'm not
learn,
sure. I can't verify it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, once you learn the entire scope of what it took to, put a man on the moon, all the hundreds of engineers, hundreds of mechanics, all the different components that went into it, I feel like it would be cheaper and less costly to just go to the moon than to fake it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and plus we also left that mirror on the moon too. There's verifiable proof that we've been there. We left stuff up there.
Yeah, we've been there 6 times. We would have been there 7th time, but Apollo 13 had its accident, so.
Right. And yeah, and that's a shame of it, is that people have these thoughts that it was all a hoax because we're not actually doing anything up there anymore. And so that's why those kind of ideas persist, because we kind of abandoned the space program. And that's a shame. And this show shows us what would happen if it wasn't abandoned.
I mean, NASA and its sort of space mission to go to Mars has been stuck in development hell for the last 40 years. And it's just good to see how in the world of For All of Mankind, we've finally achieved this 40-year goal, but instead we achieved it in the 90s instead of which will be, it's always 10 years ahead for some reason. And so they're talking about the 2030s still. And so we'll see. We'll see when we actually get there in real life.
Yeah, well, I hope I'm around for that. But it's Margot's not having a good time of it though. She's terrified, and she was released from the chains though. And now she's being sent on a she's being sent somewhere else. She doesn't know where she's going, or if she's going to survive what's happening next.
Right.
And So that's where she's going. She gets a hood on her and she's taken. No time to wash her face or anything from all that blood. It's just dried on her face.
Yep.
She does say she's American here. At first she was saying she's Canadian. Now she's going back to American. And so Deb interrupts a board meeting at Helios. And he says, "Hey, I'm back. I'm CEO again." Basically, I guess that's how is that how it's done?
That's how he does
says, I don't know. I don't know about this stuff. I have put in a tender offer backed by 23 other shareholders, giving us majority stake, naming me CEO of the company effective immediately. And the other guy says, "We have safeguards for this. You can do this." But then apparently he can. And then he says, "The lesson of Icarus is not don't fly too close to the sun. It's make better effing wings. The best way to seize the future is to invent it." And then he fires a bunch of people. And so I thought the bear hug thing was going to be a reference to the Russian. I guess maybe it is sort of also a reference to that, but it's also a direct reference to a hostile takeover, which is referred to as a bear hug by some people. So that's a fun double-edged meaning.
Double entendre.
Yes.
So now Dev's back in control.
Yeah, Dev's back in control of Helios. And Miles repaired the still. And so everybody gets vodka again.
Everybody can drink again.
Yeah, Ilya is happy to welcome him back. Because he fired him and then rehired him. And then Lee has a special request. He asks for his wife. And this kind of reminds me of when Andy Dufresne asks for Rita Hayward, and he was like but really he just wanted a poster. But in this case, Lee actually wants his wife. He actually does want to smuggle a person on.
Yeah, they're kind of confounded on how to even achieve this.
Well, now you're doing human trafficking, so this is
it's space human trafficking now.
So
I don't know. Is it human trafficking if you're trying to essentially rescue someone from a authoritarian regime?
That's what I was thinking. What kind of danger is Lee's wife in? And is he going to make sure she's safe so he could defect? And if so, why didn't he just send her to somewhere else that's safe on Earth? Why does she have to come to Mars?
I mean, I think the same reason we all want our family and loved ones with us instead of someplace else.
Okay. Well, there you go. He's being selfish.
Oh yeah. But it's a good kind of selfishness.
Sure. Because he could have sent her somewhere else on Earth that he knew she'd be safe, and then he could defect. So here we are at the end of the episode where Margot ends up at Star City, and she meets Irina Morozova, who's now the head of Roscosmos at the behest of Koroshenko, the new president of the Soviet Union. And she wants Margot to work for her. And I think it's neat we finally get to see the Russian side of things, but it's a shame that it's going on during a period in which the Russians are regressing backwards 50 years in political progress. Bad for you, bad for me, bad for them.
Yep.
And once again, show does get a little bogged down in some drama, and I want more. Like the asteroid, that I did like that Ed was working on the asteroid problem, trying to troubleshoot things by doing tests to see if they can figure out what went wrong. But it's kind of a brute force way of doing it. The next episode is better. It's Margot finally figuring out what's going on.
hmm
But you just basically have oh no, our liquor doesn't work anymore. So it's just everyday life on Mars,
hmm
kind of more than survival. Oh, here we go. This is the beginning of the next one. Let me pause it.
hmm
And so the next episode is called House Divided. It's episode 4. It first aired on December 1st, 2023. Written by Sabrina Almeida and directed by Dan Liu. So Svetlana and Vasily Galkin, they're arguing about the state of the Soviet Union. Oh, Greek letters Larson says, "What's with the stains on her face? That's the blood that
hmm
has caked on her face. That was on one of the men who was interrogating her, who in turn was interrogated by someone else, who after that interrogation, he shot that man in the head, and that's the blood that's all over Margot's face."
hmm
Daniel's Hot Topics asks, "Is this show still on the air?"
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, they are making more seasons. Yes, this is true.
Thankfully.
Yes, thankfully we will get a season 5.
Still don't know when, but it's coming.
Yeah, sometime next year. I believe
Mhm.
it. But anyway, they're arguing. Svetlana and Vasily are arguing. But Vasily Galkin is supporting the coup and supporting President Korchenko.
hmm
But of course, Svetlana supports Gorbachev, and they get into a little fight. And Galkin's suit is punctured. And of course, getting into fights on Mars is much more dangerous than on Earth, where here rupturing your spacesuit is more lethal. So,
hmm
but at least she calls for help immediately. But at the same time, why don't astronauts carry around maybe not band-aids or duct tape, but something official to like when you get a blow up pool and it has the patches on it for
hmm
if there's a leak. Why don't they carry
Yeah.
patches?
I mean, there should definitely be a thing for that. Maybe somewhere on the wrist or something.
Yeah, they've got little pockets on that spacesuit, and for tools and everything. They should have a few of those because this is a recurring problem,
hmm
and maybe he wouldn't have been in as much trouble if he had those. House Divided. I hear humans are going back to the moon in 2030, says Daniel's Hot Topics. Why so late?
Might be the 2040s for all we know. We'll see. Fingers crossed, though.
Yeah. Duct tape fixes everything, literally.
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me of the end of Live and Let Die. So, Margot's officially working for Roscosmos. And so she's hearing about all that politics going on with all of that. And Danielle decides to confine Svetlana and tell her that she can't fly anymore. She's grounded indefinitely, and she has to be in confinement for 60 sols, which on Mars is days, without any pay. But the problem is Ed believes that she's absolutely crucial to the asteroid mission, and we saw why. Because when they were doing those tests, his hands were shaking, and he had her take over flight.
Yeah.
And she did a good job, and he wants her as his wingman. But of course, he can't just be straight up about it and say this mission is not happening without her. So we're basically canceling this mission. You can't just be honest about it. He just kind of skirts around it a bit and saying how important she is, but he didn't say why.
Yeah.
And so Danielle is making her an example of her to hopefully stop other Russians from behaving similarly, because there have been more fights. This is just one of them. This is one of many fights that the Russians have been getting into with each other. But she doesn't get that chance because Svetlana comes in and says, I've been recalled to the Soviet Union to face trial. Because Galkin was the nephew of the higher ups who are in charge now. And so Danielle doesn't like to hear this. She's kind of actually afraid for Svetlana now. She was happier punishing her herself. Danielle had her own punishment in mind for Svetlana, but this she thinks might end in Svetlana's death or worse.
Yeah.
So Danielle and Ed decide not to let this happen. They tell NASA about it, and Eli Hobson agrees that makes sense. But according to the M7 treaty, any nation who's a part of this treaty is allowed to recall someone from Mars or from wherever for any reason. So Eli thinks maybe, I'll just talk to her. I like working with the Russians. They're direct. They don't like beating around the bush. We'll just have to talk it out. And so Ilya, oh yeah, that's the next scene. Yeah, Ilya denies Miles' request to send Mars rocks to Earth for profit, because he says we've got an import business. I don't want to turn it into an export business because we'll need more people, and that puts me into a position to be more vulnerable. So he decides not to help with that. But just those few ounces that he was able to send to his wife, because his kid wanted a space rock. She wanted a Mars rock, but this rock just so happened to be worth a lot of money. So it earned his wife $5,000. She's very happy. Now she wants more. But Ilya says it's too dangerous, and that's, and so Miles is going to take matters into his own hands soon. She loved the rock he sent her, but don't get mad. I sold it for money. Cold hard cash. Which is a thing that they were. Yeah, they were lacking that though, so they needed it. Amelia wants to be careful. Mars is in the golden zone, Daniel. He gets just the right amount of radiation and light, more or less. Oh, really? Oh, that's not bad. Mars is further away from the sun. Yes.
It's on the outer edge of the habitable zone.
Yeah, in the Goldilocks zone. So it should be super cold. The Mars rover on Mars, how does it not freeze and become an ice cube? And Greek letter answers that it's in the golden zone. It gets just the right amount of radiation and light, more or less. Yeah, not enough that we could survive on it, but enough that a rover can.
Well, actually, let's see what the weather's like on Mars right now.
All right. What's the weather on Mars? What's the weather? It's probably kind of cold.
Yeah, I think that might be putting it mildly. But
a very hot day on Mars would be like 0 degrees.
So today we have negative 41 degrees.
There you go.
And then it's a high of negative 35, low of negative 65. So it's not bad today. It's pretty warm.
Hmm. So
Interesting.
wow. I didn't. Yeah, that's great. We have the access to weather on Mars.
No
And,
sandstorms. It's a clear day.
is that Celsius?
Actually, good question. This is rendered in. Huh,
This is
doesn't
about.
say.
Oh, what didn't say? Okay, well, it's cold. Bring a jacket.
Okay, no, it does. It says T temperature in Celsius. So
Ah, yeah. Celsius makes
well,
sense.
there you go.
Thank you. And um, Morozova um says yeah, she's not swayed by Eli Hobson's call. It doesn't really go well for him. And Hobson says that the treaty signed by Gorbachev isn't valid now because of the change in regime. But then she says, if that's true, then all the treaties signed by President Wilson must also no longer be valid. But of course, when it's a overthrow of the government, it really isn't the same thing. But that's her stance, and she dismisses Zarkarova Zar Zarkarova being treated. Um, oh wait, she says that Svetlana isn't being treated differently because of Galkin's family. So there's nothing going on here where we care about this astronaut cosmonaut being tied to political people. So
Mm-hmm.
So no. There's nothing to do with connections here. Oh, Daniel's friend Jacob wants to go to Mars, but Mars is a one-way trip. Once you go, you cannot come back. Yeah, based on the what we have now, unless we can get a ship over there and then they can slingshot back to Earth.
Well,
Yeah.
Buzz Aldrin had an idea that you can also apply to the moon, where you have these spaceships that basically go in routine orbits in like a cycle. They call them actually cyclers. So I mean, you just have one little ship that constantly makes this same orbit between the Earth, Mars, or the Earth and the Moon, and it's just like a constant, uh, you know, line of these cargo ships or passenger ships to just send people and supplies, or to those two
Mhm.
places. So until we have that set up, yes, it's a one-way trip.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Where you constantly have rotating um, line of ships that can blast off every time the window is good.
hmm Yeah, the ideal situation would be to be in the situation they have in For All Mankind right now, where the launch windows are kind of irrelevant. You can just launch like once a month.
Oh yeah, that would be really nice, but we're not
hmm
there at all. Not
It's
yet.
going to be, I mean, if we get there in the 2040s or whatever, then, and if we follow exactly what For All Mankind has done, we won't have that kind of thing set up until probably the 2060s, and a lot of us are going to be really old by then.
2060s? No.
hmm
2060s we're supposed to get warp drive. We are really far behind.
Yeah, we'll see if we speed up.
Okay. So they're having this trouble with what to do with Svetlana. And but also the head of Roscosmos, she wants to find out what went wrong with the Kronos mission and the asteroid program. because for some reason only the Russians care at all about what happened to the accident. Like I know they were doing testing and the brute force thing with Ed and the pilots, and that's better than nothing. But I'm not seeing anybody running the mathematics or doing the physics that Margot does in this episode, and that's what I mean when I say I still don't see the people at NASA or Helios trying to figure it out in tandem. Semenoff says the American design was flawed, and he comes up with some reasons that don't matter because they're not the right answer, so we're going to skip that. Something like, there's a problem with the underdamped harmonic oscillation. And so this treaty is in the balance, so world peace is in the balance, essentially. Are we being thrust back into the Cold War that was said to be ended already? So no longer ended. I think that's pretty obvious.
Well, I mean, the show needed a way to keep the space race going, and that, I think, is a really good way to do it. We have a guy who's wanting to make Russia great again or something, and it looks like that'll be what keeps us going. So the space race might be a 100-year-long project, which I think will help push more stuff.
But the Marxist-Lenin philosophy was not great. It was not very good at all. And very obviously because of everybody shooting each other in the head and interrogating people and very disconcerting ways.
There's nothing to
there was
defend
nothing good.
when it comes to communism.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so I don't even see how this was something anybody thought was a good idea. I wouldn't ascribe it to anything else like that.
Well, I mean, for communism to have taken hold like it did, and at this point in time, so we're in 2003, so this thing has been like ingrained in the people for like 70 years, and it's very difficult to kind of disengage people from a system when they have no concept or at least idea of what actual freedom can be. And so some of the people who would look fondly back into the Soviet golden era, if you will, I think it'd be a completely natural thing to want to return to those days, especially for the older generations. And so I think this actually is a pretty good way of restarting the Cold War and kind of keeping the space race more interesting, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think what happens later, is gonna exacerbate that a little bit, and I think that only just makes the show and the more seasons we have to come even more interesting.
Yeah. PJ Bear says under Obama, NASA said they'd send people to Mars by 2024. But he couldn't say that because at the same time he was killing the Constellation program and anything that had to do with actually progressing into space at all. He basically
it's actually
progress.
It's a lot more complicated than that because I mean, originally he wanted this idea because we had killed this Constellation program, which was like years behind and like over budget. And
yeah, but we had
he had originally planned. Well, no, he had this plan where he was going to put before we got even to Mars or even back to the moon, we were going to send people to an asteroid, oddly enough. And that was supposed to happen next year, 2025. And their plan was to put men on the moon by 2029 and so on and so forth, to have people on Mars by like 2036. And then, it just keeps on getting pushed out slightly. So Mars has always been 10 years ahead since like the 90s. And because even going back to George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, the dad, he had this plan, part of this space exploration initiative, to put men on Mars by 2010. And this was like 1990. This was 1989. So, I mean, that was looking 20 years ahead.
But it doesn't ever really seem to be a priority for anybody. They just use it as political platitudes that never really go anywhere. So,
well, I mean,
we'll see.
There has been some progress, at least in terms of like actually building the rocket, because that had been like in development. It's on its own for years and years.
Right, the Orion was, but we don't see it in operation.
I mean, we have the SLS rocket or whatever, and that's like the
Okay.
biggest rocket we've had since the Saturn V. But even it took so long to build it and get it to where it is now that it's like, why did this take so long? And then they're talking about, okay, now the Mars mission or the Artemis missions we have, they're going to be launching like every couple of years instead of like the way we used to do it with shuttles, where we'd launch like a ton every year. And now we're slowing down to such a level that it's like ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and that's where SpaceX and all the rest come in to push people along in terms of doing more.
And that's why we need more private space companies to fill the gap.
Yeah. And so Margot is
Back to work.
she's allowed, yeah, she's back to work. She's allowed at the high level meeting where Morozova is saying that the US isn't going by the treaty, and they won't give Svetlana back to face justice. And Babanin says that Svetlana is important for the asteroid mission, but so that doesn't make him look good with the boss. And then of course Margot goes at it just like before. She's given all the information to try to figure out what went wrong with the Kronos asteroid mission, and she's trying to solve the puzzle that no one that I don't know if anyone else is working on the same puzzle or not, but it's good to see her working again. All she's missing is her metronome and her piano.
Yeah.
But back on Mars, the Helios workers are complaining. They're saying that Svetlana is getting special treatment because Ed and Danielle are protecting her, and they're not necessarily wrong. and saying if it was a Helios worker that harmed one of the astronauts or the scientists, it would, or pilots, they'd be having way more penalties. Like they'd be punished way more. And Miles, meanwhile, is focused on getting some more Martian rocks to send home that are worth $5,000 ish, based on the ounce, for his wife. And he asks Ilya to expand the business, like we saw. He said no.
Mhm.
Then also he asked Samantha. Samantha refuses him too. So he's got to do this all alone. Margot continues. She's got graphing paper and a calculator. But it's midnight and she needs some coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that. That's good. That's good. She's also got some candy too, but it isn't quite Tootsie Rolls.
No. She needs to get her Tootsie Roll fix.
Yeah. She's got a substitute though, but I can't tell what it is. Communism? No, it's not. Oh my god. Yeah, we'd all have flying DeLoreans and oh my goodness, no.
Yeah, fully automated luxury space communism is probably not going to be any of those things.
DJ Knight says, hi Jill. Hey DJ Knight, good to see you. Yep, Jill loves Martian rocks. Well, especially those shiny ones that get you paid.
Well, wasn't the first rock that he sent back just like shriveled up like dried meatloaf or something?
Yeah, but then she actually asked Samantha to go get one for her on one of her missions or wherever she was doing, and she ended up getting something that was sent to his wife that was worth lots of money. And a jeweler, paid her $5,000.
Yeah.
Well, it must be actually worth 3 times that amount because they always undercut you. So, hey, well, since Russia was kind of in a transition between being communist and starting to embrace some capitalist philosophies, that's the only way I can explain how they have a vending machine for coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And Margot meets Tatiana Volkova, and she shows her how she can use washers because they're the same weight and diameter as the coins they use. And
Yeah.
for this favor, Margot. Oh, go ahead.
I need to do that. I need to do that.
Right? Is it that simple? Just find the right diameter and weight of the
I hope
coin.
so.
Well, you report back to me.
I shall.
And so, in turn, Margot helps Tatiana with her asteroid project calculations, so they're even. And so they help each other. So she's sort of made a friend, and she's a member of Krilly Semenov's team, and she helps her with the thing. But Morozova has apparently been telling everyone to keep their distance from Margot, so she wants to know why Tatiana helped her. And this is her answer. Well, a woman without coffee is a dangerous woman. Which is kind of like one of the funny lines of the episode. I wanted to clip that, but I'm gonna have to clip that for later. It's a good one.
Yeah.
And I'm also on top of all this, I'm wondering how long it's going to take before America finds out Margot's alive now that she's actually doing real work again. Because if she's doing real work, people who, scientists who encounter these reports that she's working on are going to see her style in that report, aren't they? They're going to be like, "Wait, this looks like Margot's work." Like especially a certain I'm guessing the Leda.
Well, don't get too far ahead of yourself, but I think you're on the right track.
Yep. And yeah. Thanks. So then now the computer programs are being reset to their initial Soviet specifications. So that's not good at all for Danielle. That she says that's going to severely disrupt operations. And he informs her that the Soviet Union no longer recognizes Danielle as the commander, as the leader of Happy Valley. And the president is Colin Hobson. He's all upset. Oh, but before that happens, Ed says it all for me. He says, "Son of a bitch. I mean, I thought we were beyond all this bullshit."
Mm-hmm.
And then that is what the beginning of the season tricked me with all that.
Yeah. Old Man Mars strikes again.
Which but yeah, so Hobson's he's being eaten out by the president. he says to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there are countries that have sided with the Soviets, and then countries that have sided. The only neutral country is India.
Yeah.
Between the two factions, everybody else took a side. And Danielle tells everybody to run a full diagnostic on your equipment, on your stations, make sure everything is still in working order. And then they also decide to do a security sweep. And Gore says, a month ago, Happy Valley was a beacon of international cooperation. Now it's the front line for a new Cold War. You remember my speech in Chicago, don't you? I said the Cold War was over. You think they're not going to play that on repeat until Election Day? And so that's Hobson. Everything's being put on him. And yes, Samantha's not helping. So he ends up having to use a spacesuit that looks very familiar. It looks like the one from season 3. So instead of getting one of the more modern suits, he has to use an old-fashioned suit, and he complains about how it smelled.
Mhm.
But it's all he can get. Everything else is booked up. So if he wants those rocks, he's got to put up with that.
Yep.
And so he's in his 1990 spacesuit, and he finds some. He finds some of the rocks he wants. He finds 2 of them. He's got $10,000 for his family, and even though I warned him not to do this, he did it anyway. He reached for more of the rocks, but he was standing very precariously at the edge of this rock, and of course, what does it do? It slides, and he slides straight into straight into a fissure.
Mhm.
Probably one of the ones that Danny caused.
Mhm.
So
Yep,
Danny's
well,
still causing trouble.
yep, still. You just can't resist.
No, I know. Man. Then Samantha. So Samantha's upset. Samantha comes in and faces Danielle, saying that Svetlana needs to go back to Russia to face her punishment. And she didn't even realize that Danielle had her own ideas on how to deal with her, which was to ground her indefinitely, which is pretty much the worst thing you can do to a pilot who loves to fly.
Mhm.
Which would have been a good enough punishment, at least not as torturous as going to Russia would likely be.
Yeah.
He didn't listen to me either. They never listen.
Nope. They should learn.
I know, I'm yelling at my TV for a reason. What's going
Hmm.
on? I'm not listening. And to bring matters into perspective, Danielle actually goes to the hyperbaric chamber where Galkin is being kept alive. And I guess that helps her somehow. And there's
She's there to
hope
finish the
he might
job.
come back. He could be paralyzed. What's that?
Mm. I was joking. That's she's coming there to finish the job.
Oh, let's get rid of this problem.
Mhm.
I know. And so, Miles' roommates realize that he's not there. So they turn out to be his friend after all, and they take a rover to go looking for him. And they find him at the bottom of the fissure. And he's still alive. It's pretty miraculous. He didn't like break his leg or his foot or anything. He just has a few cuts. And she pulls him out. She pulls him out, and she gets angry at him, beating him up a bit. Even though a similar altercation earlier almost killed somebody. So, I don't know, way to go,
The older
Samantha.
suit prevails.
Yeah, the older suit was way more durable than the newer ones, I suppose. Better for fighting in.
Yeah.
And it was a really well done scene. This one, I was kind of on the edge of my seat for this because I thought, oh no, I was sure that he was severely injured or dead, and he wasn't. So that was neat.
Yeah.
He
Too.
he got lucky.
Yeah.
Oh, and yes, Margot finally figures it out. She meets with Morozova, and she finds out that there was a manufacturing error. She says there was a manufacturing error in the asteroid anchor bolts that were designed and built by Roscosmos, but it wasn't caught by quality control. They did not meet specifications and should not have been certified for flight. And when they get this, NASA will double check every calculation before combining it into the joint incident report. They'll realize that the extrapolated tensile yield strengths of the bolts couldn't possibly be correct. And so Morozova is grateful to Margot for figuring this out. And Semenov says, yes, it was my error, and because it was my team's error. So he's obviously taking responsibility for it, even though it wasn't his exact error. It was his team, and he didn't double check their work. So the error was a units error. It was a units error made early in fabrication. NASA sent the torque test specifications in pounds feet, but we work in Newton meters. And someone screwed up the conversion. The bolts passed, and we flew them. Only after the accident did we discover the error. Who screwed up the conversion? My team performed the calculations, and therefore I am responsible. And so this is very similar. Yeah. You go ahead. You explain it. The real life situation. Tell us about the real life situation
I think
that happened.
we had sent, I think it was the United States and the European Space Agency were working together on like a Mars probe, but they found out that when they sent it, it had been all packaged, everything was built, everything was sent, but they found out that because we work in pounds feet, and then they work in meters, and so there was a calculation error, so that actually the thing didn't even. It was a complete disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is kind of mirroring that.
Yes, this is definitely a mirror of a real life situation in which the conversions were not taken into account, because sometimes NASA works in meters, but sometimes it works in feet. You just never know what you're going to get. They kind of mix it up. Penny says, y'all waiting on Venom to start? Venom? Hey, Penny, how are you doing? How are the grandchildren? But yes, this is a issue. It's probably still an issue because we still like our feet and our pans.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
So he's taken away. And Arena tries to pacify Margot by saying he's going to be reassigned another job. But doesn't she remember what happened when they said that Sir Jay was going to be was assigned a different job? So he's going to prison at worst. At best, actually, at best he'll just go to prison. At worst, he'll be taken out. But then Morozova recites a poem. It's a poem that Pushkin wrote in 1827. He wrote it to Anna Petrovna Kern, with whom he had an affair. In Russian, it says, "Remote in my darkened exile, the days dragged by so slowly, without grace, without inspiration, without tears, without life, without love. Then my spirit woke, and you appeared again, like a transient vision, like pure beauty's spirit." And so after she recites that poem, she tells Margot that the Americans took you for granted, and I won't. And she gives Margot a photo of the engineering team for the first moon landing in 1969, showing that she knows who Sergei is. And not only that she was friends with him. Oh yeah, 1992 birthday stream. Can't wait. Oh, DJ Night. Oh, okay. Yeah, I do have a birthday stream on my birthday. It's gonna be I'm gonna review. Stay tuned. So that'll be fun.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's a 1992 birthday stream, but it's not because of any kind of. It's the movie that was made in 1992. I was a child when I watched it.
Yeah, I was born that year, but
yeah, I was a little kid watching this movie over and over again and recording it on a VHS tape.
It's a great movie.
It is. But why, oh why, do we have 2 miles? So Hobson is still thinking about his problems at work, at home. While he's working out, he's getting upset with this exercise bike that's telling him to pick up the pace, and he's yelling at it, "You effing piece of shit!" And he's just really upset. And is told, that I might have single-handedly brought back the Cold War. But and then of course she's talking about, hey, this is a really stressful job. You didn't really have to take it. We could be on vacation. And and he says, well, I want to make a difference. And she says, by the time you're done making a difference, our knees might not work anymore to take those vacations. And then she talks about all the different places she wants to go on vacation, and one of those just happens to be India, and that's really lucky, because who wants to go to India on vacation? But apparently she does. And
I can see it.
and well, maybe some of the classic buildings or something. I guess that's what she was talking about too. And Hobson manages to make a deal to get Svetlana sent to India based on his wife's idea that she didn't mean to give him. So that was good. Although only Danielle is happy with this solution. Saying but Ed is upset with this. He says that she's just trying to save her own career and hold on to her command, which is kind of true. And then Danielle says this is typical of Ed, where when he, no matter what the realities are, he wants to protect his friends, like he did with Gordo and Danny. And so that's true too. So they're both correct about each other.
Yeah.
But it still makes Ed kind of seem like a bit of a jerk, not supporting Danielle again when she's the one in control. It'd be nice if he could be gracious every once in a while, but however, there's something vital that Danielle doesn't know. Like I said earlier, he keeps saying how important Svetlana is to the program, because he's not going to be able to pilot this mission without her due to his creeping medical vulnerabilities. And we'll see what comes of that.
He's also, a 72-year-old man at this point, so he's getting up there.
Yeah, he's getting old, and he has some sort of muscle disease that we don't know much about yet. Parkinson's or something. And I don't know. I want Ed to have a major redemption arc this season. I keep imagining like how it's going to happen, that he's going to see some reason, and that I don't know, something good's going to happen, hopefully.
I can't say, but it's good.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Also glad to see Jim. Hello, Jim. How are things? I don't know. I just think grounding Svetlana was the best punishment, and that a full criminal trial is completely absurd and overboard.
Yeah. Well, this new regime, they want their, pound of flesh, so to speak, especially since the guy she went after was, I guess part of like a major family associated with him. So it's like it's all kinds of messed up. But
It is
I was kind of hoping that she would come away from that without any issue, because ultimately, I don't think he dies or anything. He's kind of like he's got to be like in a chamber for a good minute. But even then, people are gonna want something from that, I guess, from
retribution.
Yeah.
Well, and people are afraid that he's going to turn out to be a vegetable and, not come out. Like, even if he survives, he won't be all there. So that's the worry.
Yeah.
And Jim's Landscape says I'm over 8,500 in subs and mulching leaves. Oh, that's a good day. That's a good day. Good day to be Jim's Landscape. there's oh right, and there also in that scene, I almost forgot. There was such a tease about Danny.
Hmm.
They said, oh, wrong. Oh, I don't have the script open for this one. Let's see. I'm gonna grab the transcript. House divided. Danny. Gotta find that line. And once again, you're letting your personal feelings affect your judgment. That's Danielle to Ed. And then Gordo on Jamestown. Danny, when we... Wait, whatever happened to Danny is not on me, said Ed. And really, so, okay, so... Oh.
Yeah, that
Because you
shoe hasn't dropped yet.
Yeah, she said, because you let your emotions get the best of you, and because of that, what? Now say it, Danny. Say it. Say it. But she doesn't say it. It's a real big tease.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to that point when they reveal what happened to good old Danny Stevens and the theory that ensued.
Oh goodness. Okay. I can't even guess, so at least that part will be unpredictable for me. I don't know how much I care anymore, but they're definitely good at teasing it. Yeah, and that's all going out. It's a shame what's happening with Danielle and Ed. They're such good friends, and stuff like this always gets in the way. Danny's trying to keep her command at the expense of her friend, and Ed is not really following the rules precisely because of trying to protect a friend. Interesting stuff. And Margot is hanging out with Tatiana, who is really upset because her mentor, so that guy who was responsible, who took responsibility for the conversion unit error, has been taken away by the KGB, is what she suspects, and nobody stopped it. And so she's calling everybody cowards, including her, because she didn't either. And Margot tries to make her feel better. But I guess also, does that mean Tatiana needs a new mentor? Because Margot's sitting right there. Not Tatiana, Svetlana. I gotta remember all these Russian lady names. Okay, so Svetlana's packing, and because she's going back to Earth. She's going to India. And Ed says, we can hide you down in the cargo bay somewhere. Nobody will ever check. And she's like, no. You're going off the rails, Ed. No, she didn't say that, but he kind of is. And I didn't really want there to be a romance here, but I don't really mind it either. I thought they were just friends, and then this happened. So
very
it's
extra
fine, I
special.
guess.
Oh, they want to be extra special friends.
Yeah, they want to be extra special. I didn't really catch it until it happened.
I kind of had a little bit of an idea, but I wasn't sure how.
I did. I was
that
just
was
kind of
running.
hoping not. It wasn't a very attractive romance for me, but it doesn't bother me either. There's an age gap, but they're both consenting adults. It's fine. They're friends with benefits. I don't know if they ever actually consummated the benefits, though. I think that was just the beginning of that, which is she's leaving, so she's in some trouble. So I'm glad we don't have to worry about romance right now. And so that's essentially it. This is well, but is Ed the only one on her side? It seems like nobody else cares about her. or what's going on? Why doesn't anybody? What about her? What about her Russian friends who are on her side? Like, not everybody is for the new regime. Are they just afraid to show support to her? Because I guess it
Maybe.
makes sense, right?
Hmm.
I guess that's why everybody's always afraid in these communist countries.
Yeah.
But that's season 4, episodes 3 and 4. The bear
Mhm.
hug and house divided. With all of
Mhm.
these wonderful actors that you see on screen here.
Mhm.
And do you have any thoughts on the episodes today
No, I mean,
that you want to
this
add?
was just this is just another solid addition to, I think, a very fantastic season that sets up, hopefully, the next 3 years of this series, and hopefully we were able to get those three. We know we're at least getting one more, and I hope that
Mhm.
we do get the other two. But yeah, I don't know. I wish I could tell you everything that happens, but I think you discovering it as you go, as you've been doing, I think is,
Yes.
obviously
It,
the best ideal way to do it, but
mm.
especially to talk about it as well. But no, it's great
Well,
stuff.
exactly.
And, I kind of feel like Dev, even now, he's going to become sort of like, I don't know, he's going to be a guy who's going to have like the foundational aspect of like possibly making like a Mars, because his whole dream is to make Mars like some kind of habitable, um, like off-world colony that isn't like split up like the moon is. And I'm kind of curious how that's going to manifest. And then, Ed is going to go into like his
Right.
80s, and
Well,
I think he's going to
well,
be like 100 by the time this thing's over.
yeah. But with Dev, I wanted to.
Hmm.
He wants to do the kind of exploration and things that is being done on there. Obviously, they're going to search for life, but
Hmm.
like you said, he also wants colonies, but not just colonies doing work, but colonies just working to live, to survive on Mars. He wants people to live, like to actually
Hmm.
see Mars as a viable place to be a human
Hmm.
beyond
Yeah.
the financial benefits of it, which will
Hmm.
still have financial benefits because it's going to create an economy and it's going to create its own economic system on Mars
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. I think this season, if nothing else, is very foundational in discovering who those Martians, those first Martians, are going to be.
Mhm.
And I kind of feel like Miles is being set up to be sort of, I don't want to call it like the Martian mafia, but like definitely some kind of like
Yeah.
organized crime thing that's going to end up happening on Mars. But it's going to be interesting to see where these threads end up as the series goes.
Well, Amanda sure seems happier about it.
I'd say so.
So, so those were our episodes for today. Yeah, I do. I am excited to see where it goes. Definitely.
Hmm.
But there are questions that I have, and as I was going through the episodes, I highlight some things that I want answered, and I hope I get things answered because there are always these questions that I have for later.
Well, I hope they do. And if you
Mhm.
still have those questions, I mean,
Well,
we can always talk about them.
I think my biggest one for these two episodes is that when is Miles going to have, like, it's nice that you're doing this underground business and everything, but what about unionizing? When is that going to happen? Because what's happening is obviously illegal.
Hmm.
And so when is that going to be called out?
Okay.
You can't really do indentured servitude in America, but
Yeah.
it's being swept under the rug somehow, and all someone has to do is call it out, and it'll be over.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that there's an answer to that question, and we'll be finding it out soon. So,
Good.
yeah.
I don't know if we're going to find it out next week, but for season 4, the episodes for next week is episode 5, Goldilocks. A
Hmm.
discovery sends teams across Earth and Mars scrambling for answers.
Hmm.
Then we have episode 6, Leningrad. Unlikely partnerships are formed at a high stakes international conference. And that is what we have going for next Tuesday as we catch up with the rest of the world and watching For All Mankind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know these songs, but these are songs that were in the episode Speed Bumps by Luna, which was when they were in the bar in Happy Valley. Maybe Not by Cat Power when Ed is walk when at the very end of the episode. I forgot him. Oops, there it is. Oh, yeah, I guess I forgot to copy him, so that's why I didn't have him.
Oh.
Maybe things are just a little too big. Let me make them small. Make this smaller.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll be able to find it better. But yeah, very, very interesting intrigue. I was hoping that there would be some kind of different conflict. Now that we've got the Russians out of the way, now that they're our best friends, let's see what other kind of things we can get into. But no, it got folded back into the Russians being a problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like they might be somewhat worse now than before because I feel like they're more militantly communist than they were before. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to manifest.
It's interesting to see that because this is the first time we actually see it from the inside instead of just whatever they say on the news broadcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so the songs in the first episode was Mass Romantic by the New Pornographers. What a name for a band.
Great.
For that one is at Happy Valley Base Speakeasy. Everyone's drinking, dancing, and laughing after a long workday. Miles clocks people turning into the base. Okay. And then, yeah, so he's getting orders and everything. Next one is V. Lunam Siani in the Moonlight by For All Mankind cast. Oh, they made it themselves. At his packed Happy Valley speakeasy, Ilya sings to himself at the bar while fiddling with his still. Then there's American Pig by The Go, where when the drip stops and Ilya knocks it to get it going again. So these are all songs in the lower decks bar. Then there's The Riot by Ed Bogus and Ray Shanklin. And it's during some type of montage. What montage was that? There was a montage? I don't remember a montage. Then Friendship Station by Le Tigre. Ilya is happy that Miles has fixed the still in the speakeasy, and Miles surprises him with Lee, a new customer who wants Ilya to find his wife. So we'll see how all of this stuff pans out. Also, lots of open-ended threads. Did any threads actually complete? Did we actually get any complete? Oh, I guess the resolution as to what happened to Kronos was something good that was completed. I'd say that's a pretty good wrap up of that in terms of telling me exactly what happened. But I still want to know the American side of that. So that's something to wait for. But in the meantime, I think we did a good job talking about these two.
Looking forward to being present for both new episodes next week. So
those nautical miles. Yeah, me too. Let's see. Let's see if Kelly gets to have some fun exploring with robots yet. I'm ready to look for life on Mars. I'm not so sure about the asteroid. I guess the asteroid, there's something on the asteroid that they need to mine because, of course, Mars is like such a barren wasteland. I guess it makes sense. You need an asteroid with extra um, resources on it to get Mars going.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting discussion that they have later on, but when that happens, we'll definitely talk about it.
Yep. Definitely want to talk about all that. But in the meantime, I think I'll let you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Hmm.
And we'll talk again later.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was great seeing you. Hey, retro nerd Jill.
Hmm.
Thank you, DJ Knight. That's a real honor to be compared to a retro nerd girl, but I definitely won't take her name. But we are kindred spirits, I am sure. It definitely makes me happy to hear of her. Definitely check out her channel also. She makes some really great stuff. Oh, speaking of promoting,
Hmm.
is there anything you want to share before we go?
Yeah. So on my channel, Fleet Admiral Levi, on my podcast, we're doing Fantasy Month this month. So we just did Lord of the Rings with a friend of mine, Benjamin Franson, and then this week on Friday we'll be covering Harry Potter. So stay tuned for that. We'll be covering Arthurian legends and a few other fantasy style stories as we go through the month, and then we're probably going to close out our kind of like season of the podcast about mid-December, and then we'll be coming back in January with sort of a rebrand of the channel. So yeah, join us. I think it's fun. So
I think it's
yeah.
fun too. Harry Potter says FKHC 2005 in Greek letters. Larson says, no more Harry Potter. I can't stand it. Basically in Charlie Brown voice. But you know what? You hung out with me for all of mine. So I really, if you can't stand it, then that says something that there was more to it that you actually enjoyed. So I do appreciate your presence. And everybody who is here today, also FKHC 2005, DJ Knight, Jim Larson. I mean, Jim Larson. Jim's Landscape and his mulching leaves. And also PJ Bear, Penny. Penny's also here. Daniel's Hot Topics. Gavin Blackburn. I know DJ Play Nice is somewhere. He's hanging around. Oh, and FKHC 2005 account was acting up. We also had Snortopoopus Cube, whose YouTube account seems to be back in working order. Let's hope it stays that way. Nobody jinx it. Hopefully he's okay. We had 2 months Harry Potter overdose with Jill. We need detoxification from spells.
Well, we might be covering. I don't know exactly what you cover, but we'll be covering more than just the movies.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. That sounds like a good show.
Hmm.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That there are a lot of people interested in Harry Potter, so you're. I found a lot of new listeners who I don't know. I don't know if the new listeners come back for anything else besides Harry Potter, but I sure hope they do.
Yeah.
Of course, we had Gorilla's Random Thoughts tricking me with pretend lottery tickets
Hmm.
and becoming highly amused by it.
Hmm.
That is. and we had Brogu for a bit. Lemon Pie. I hope I said hi to Lemon Pie. I'm not sure that I did. Canadian Spider-Man was here at some point, but he was also complaining about his laptop battery. And that's everybody. I got everyone. Wow, what an amazing stream. Thank
Very
you for
good.
being awesome. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.
Thanks, chat.
learn all that is learnable.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right. That's enough of that shit. Let's get this show on the road.
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.